Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. That's Joe Smith. And do you know what? It's been a 1-1 draw at Chelsea. But if you're going to draw at Stamford Bridge, the way to do it is with a last-minute equaliser that's barely an inch over the line, thanks to the beautiful Brazilian bonds of Mr. Casemiro, who is genuinely mint. Yeah. I mean, we're going to get through the game. We're going to talk about all the incidents. We're going to talk about the performances, the penalty, all the rest of it. So what I hear from you guys, get involved in the chat and the comments because this is your channel, obviously. Joe, if we can go way back to the first half.
Yes.
Me and you were on the watch along, feeling pretty good, I think. We would say the way United set up and the way we sort of
first
got at them.
minutes, I thought United were excellent. Really good. Dominated the game. I thought it was more like the Tottenham game than it was like the Newcastle game, although Chelsea were better than Tottenham were even at that point. United were much the better team, and I thought that we deserved to get a goal. There was that Rashford was sort of 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. Anthony went through as well just after that time, and unfortunately, somehow we didn't manage to score, and then it all sort of changed second half, didn't it?
It did. It really did. Sorry, I'm still buzzing and thinking about that last. Because do you know what I love? Right, this football puts you through the mill, and it's that utter despair when you. Because I was so annoyed, and we'll get to the second half in a minute, but I was so annoyed with the way it panned out. Yeah, and to get that last minute when equaliser, sorry, it was just fantastic. Yeah, it was weird, wasn't it? Because me and you were talking at half time, and you're thinking if we have to make a change, that bench. Listen, we all love our youngsters at United. And you know, there's some experience in midfield there, but it wasn't like we had an obvious match winner there. It wasn't like we had someone who you go, bring him on now. He's going to change the game. Yeah. And that is part of the problem in a minute, isn't it? Because even though you've got Martial who's injured and Ronaldo who's not available for obvious reasons that we don't need to go back into, it still feels like we're a little bit light at times.
It does, and yeah, somehow this team that sometimes, I can't remember what it was the other day when we rotated slightly and the bench was phenomenal. When before Casemiro was getting in the squad and there was Casemiro and Ronaldo and I think even Sancho or Martial was on the bench as well. Yeah. And it was like, wow, this bench. But 2 or 3 key injuries and all of a sudden we look very thin off the bench. And funnily enough, it was 2 substitutes who made a massive difference in the end. Obviously, McTominay giving the penalty away, which we'll go over in a second. Yeah. And I thought Elanga driving forward in those final minutes of the game. I know he didn't get the assist for the goal, but he was pushing the ball forward, knocking it into space, running after it, something that Sancho struggled to do. And we will get to Sancho as well, but let's focus on some of the positives first. That, for me, is one of... what game was it a few years ago when I think they just sacked either Conte or Jose or someone at Stamford Bridge, maybe even longer ago than that, and we went there and we won like 3-1. I think it was under Ferguson actually, so it can't have been Conte. Yeah. But other than that, that first half is one of the best we've looked at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah.
Excuse me, for me, where Chelsea were making subs after 35 minutes because they were just in a spin. Yeah. And United were controlling the game, controlling the ball, making chances. Like I said, more similar to the Tottenham game than the Newcastle game, for instance. I thought the first half by United was excellent and much more like what we want to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was. You know, we had the 2 clear-cut chances. There was like maybe 2.5. I think Marcus made a chance, a bit of a half chance. He had another good one, and then obviously the Anthony chance. And you look at it, Chelsea had nothing. No. They didn't really look like scoring. They weren't really involved in the game. We had more possession. We had the better possession. We had the sort of the, like I said, the chances as well. And in the final third, we looked more likely to make something happen. And it felt like we were the home team. We were the ones taking the games to them. We were the ones dominating possession. We were the ones creating things. And then, as you said, Graham Potter makes a change where he takes off Cucurella and he brings on Kovacic, and that seems to have a desired effect. And then, and this is, I don't want to be too negative and too harsh on the kid, but this is slightly worrying. Jadon Sancho just, his game seemed to fall off a cliff. Yeah. Like, it got to the stage where, towards the end of the first half and then the beginning of the second half, where it felt like everything he did was going wrong. Mm-hmm. And he was more or less given 3 minutes, I think, before we saw pictures of Erik ten Hag talking to Fred about coming on and giving him instructions. And then in like the 51st minute or whatever it was, 50th minute, he'd made that change. And it's not an obvious change to bring Fred on for a winger, but it needed to be done. I think we've got a quote, just a post-match quote from Bruno Fernandes. So we'll get that up on the screen there for you. He says, the first half was good from us and we had some problems in the middle, but we had our chances. The belief was there and we kept fighting and we got the draw. A point is not enough, but we did all right.
Just on that,
yeah.
And a point isn't enough, obviously. You know, we wanted 3 points. We probably deserved 3 points. Just a few stats quickly before I get to it.
Yeah.
United, 13 shots, 6 on target. Chelsea, 6 shots, just 2 on target. Yeah. And honestly, other than the penalty, Chelsea didn't have a good chance, really. They had one ahead that hit the crossbar, but De Gea, I think, pretty much had it covered. They had a few missed controlled passes from Aubameyang, but nothing like the chances United had in the first half, that Rashford and the Antony one. Like United had more passes, United had more passes in the final third, United had more shots on target. That was a game that, if anyone deserved to win, I think it was United. To be honest, I think, on reflection, first half, second half, a draw probably isn't the most unfair result. But that goal, obviously, it brings a lot of things. It gets you a point. It salvages something from the day when it felt like an unfair loss. But as much as anything, taking 2 points off a top 4 rival is actually pretty big. Like, obviously, you can look at it from the negative side, and we maybe should have got 3 points. But if Chelsea had pulled away from us by another 3 points today, that would have been a tough gap to manage. I think they're already a point ahead, so you don't want to make it 4, and then all of a sudden you're looking at that top 4 thinking, we need a couple of bad results here. Now, we're still 1 point behind them, and Man United are still in this race now, certainly. Whereas, 3 points difference, or 4 points difference as it would have made things a lot more difficult, especially going into the World Cup. So it's massive to take 2 points off Chelsea as much as it is not losing for United as well, if you know what I mean.
As sure as the day is long, we'll fucking do them at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now.
If we play like that, we will.
Fucking easily. Do you know what I mean? They just didn't really turn up for half the game today. Yeah. And considering they're at home, that was pretty poor. We've got another quote as well. We've got I think a Bruno quote on Ronaldo, because obviously he's been asked about Ronaldo, and he says here, we don't talk about it, we keep it quiet inside, we have to deal with that inside. No one else has to think what we think or want or what will happen, as we don't know. I mean, it's a bit pointless asking. I get why you asked him, because it's a hot topic. A bit pointless asking Bruno Fernandes about Ronaldo. He's not going to say anything about that. It's his Portuguese captain. It's his teammate for both club and country. He's not going to throw Ronaldo under the bus, or the manager in any way under the bus. So he's going to have to just give you a bland beige answer, which is what he's done, and rightly so. I wouldn't want to hear him coming out and saying anything too sort of inflammatory, because I think that matter now, we need to move on for it. It's been dealt with. Going on to that second half, though, the penalty.
Yeah.
A penalty? Any arguments?
No, there's no argument. It's definitely a foul. It's one of those where they happen quite a lot in football and fouls aren't given. Yeah. It's not like it's given every time foul. It's one of those where you go, really, that should be a foul there, but they don't give it.
No.
When actually it should be a foul, and he did give it.
Yeah.
It's just stupid from McTominay, innit? Because you can get away with one arm underneath him as you're jogging alongside him, or you can even do one arm around the back. But to put one arm around and then sort of almost clasp hands around him,
no,
you're just asking for a penalty to be given, aren't you?
Yeah, and I thought it was a bit foolish. He's always going to make a meal of it, and let's have it right. If I see a player with 2 arms around one of my players in the box, I'm going to be screaming for a penalty if it was the other way around. So I'm not surprised it got given. And McTominay, he's got a lot of experience. He's just got to be a bit smarter than that. But listen, it's weird, because I almost feel, right, and this is going to sound really stupid, but I'll say it anyway. I almost feel like if they don't score that penalty, the game ends 0-0, and we're probably feeling worse than we do now.
I agree.
I think the game just fizzles out, and we go, well, that was a bit of nothingness. And now I feel more positive than negative, because with 6 minutes to go, we're 1-0 down at Stamford Bridge, a ground that historically has been difficult for us. And we were also missing so many players, including the ones he's had to sub off or chose to sub off. And yet we showed a bit of spirit. We showed a bit of direct football. Knew what we were doing, a bit of purpose. It wasn't just hoofing. It was like, let's pick someone out. Let's do this. Let's make this happen. Let's run at defenders, as Elanga did. Elanga's sort of last 5 minutes is his best 5 minutes. He's had a red shirt for months.
Yeah.
And we got the equaliser, and now we're on a positive, and they'll be gutted, because that'll feel like a loss to them.
A 1-1 draw away at Chelsea at the start of the season, you take that. Like, that's not a fucking hell, I can't believe we only got a draw at Stamford Bridge. Obviously, the circumstances of the game meant we maybe should have scored more. But there's a great point here from Carl Ingram in the chat. He says, of the 11 games United have played so far, 8 have been against teams in the top 10. which shows the quality of the teams we face. And also, if I said at the start of the season or before this run, you're going to play Arsenal, who have won every single game except United still, Tottenham, Liverpool, Chelsea and City, from those 5 games you'll get 10 points. You'd take that all day, wouldn't you? 3 wins, a draw and a loss. Yeah. Like, you would absolutely take that. Yeah. Averaging 2 points against your top 6 rivals is really quite good, actually.
And also, we've won the games I'd expect us to win, or one, I want us to win them all. But, like, losing at the Etihad, it's annoying, it's frustrating. I fucking hate City. But it's forgivable. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
It's not an absolute disaster.
No. Drawing at Stamford Bridge, again, I can stomach that. Arsenal coming to United, Old Trafford. Spurs coming to Old Trafford. Liverpool coming to Old Trafford. Beating them. That's what we should be doing. They shouldn't be coming to Old Trafford and taking anything from that game, and they haven't.
And deservedly beating all 3 of them as well. Yeah.
Like, the Spurs game was as good as we played in years. Yeah. The Liverpool game, especially off the back of a 4-0 loss to Brentford, was a phenomenal performance and a phenomenal result. I know Liverpool is shit, but you can only beat what's in front of you. And Arsenal, like you say, they've literally not even dropped 1 point other than when they came to Old Trafford, and we were good value for our win. Yeah. And that's what you can see. The thing is, right, with certain managers and whatnot, like with Ole, I loved Ole, and he came in and for a long time, or for the first bit, he just wasn't Jose, and he got the best out of Pogba, and he got a system with Pogba, Matic and Herrera that works, and he was getting a tune out of Anthony Martial and Rashford, and you could see what he was doing and how it works. But then when it needed to change and when it needed to evolve, it couldn't, and it struggled a little bit. And then we had a couple of good seasons. Let's not dismiss Ole. We had 3rd place finish and a 2nd place finish,
which is the most consistent back-to-back finishes we've had since 2012 and 2013.
Exactly. But there was always these sort of questions like, tactically, has he got the sort of tactical nous to go up against the big teams and to get these dominating performances against big teams? Jose, everyone says, tactically he's great, but there's question marks about the style of football, about his desire, his longevity as well. With Van Gaal, there was this sort of the football made me want to gouge my eyes out. It was just horrible. And with Moyes, the less said about that, the better. Now, with Ten Hag, he's the first manager where you can see he's almost ticking every box. Yeah. The football's better. You can see what he's trying to do. You can see it straight away. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? His signings have been positive signings. It's only early days. He's only 11 games. But, Casemiro scored today. He's been phenomenal. Yeah. Eriksen's been an absolute revelation since coming. Anthony, quality. I know we played a lot for him. Absolute quality. Tyrone Malacia, I never heard of him about a year ago. Yeah. 40 million euros, bargain. Do you know what I mean? Even if he don't play for us again, it's not like we waste a load of money. But you can see why he's bought him. It looks like he's getting everything.
Martinez,
arguably the best. I can't believe I missed him out.
Has been, I would genuinely say, the best centre back in the league this season.
I can't
name me someone who's been better. Like, so far up until now, he's barely put a foot wrong. The 1 foot he put wrong in every game this season is he was a bit far off Haaland for one of the goals in the 6-3. That's not bad, is it, when you're looking at mistakes of a centre-back? He's been absolutely fantastic. And just a few stats on that. Luke Shaw with the most passes. Again, another excellent game for Luke Shaw. Martinez with the 2nd most passes for United. Martinez with the most tackles for United. And obviously Casemiro with the most ball recoveries. Just an excellent game for Martinez again. And he's just a really top player. Just on Casemiro, I thought, again, he did this thing where he misplaced a couple of passes, but he's got such quality in there, hasn't he, where you can give him the ball and most of the time he'll find a way out or he'll find a ball through the lines.
I forget, was it me and you talking about it? It might have been someone. I was chatting to some of the lads I went to a football do last night with the lads I go to the game with, and someone was saying, I think it was someone was quoting Andy Mitten, and he was saying the good thing about Casemiro is you don't notice him.
No.
You don't notice him for almost all the game. The reason you don't notice him is because he's doing his job so effectively. He's just getting on with it. And I think they said that after the Spurs game, where it's just like, Spurs didn't really have a sniff. Do you know what I mean? And he's that protector for the defence.
Do you notice? Fred.
Yeah.
You notice Fred because he's fucking doing something mad. Sometimes it's incredible, sometimes it's diabolical, but you never go 30 seconds without noticing him. There's
times when you can go a good half hour without noticing Casemiro because he's just effective. Yeah. He's just not, showboating, or he's not doing anything where you go, oh my God, it's unbelievable. Now and again, he'll pull a fucking worldly pass out that you'll notice, or a goal today. But he just gets on with his job. As a DM, Carrick used to do it. Just putting out things. And you won't go, fucking hell, man, Carrick, mate. You'd notice it at the end of the fucking season when you've won a load of trophies. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? He conceded 9 goals, and he's been a part of that. But yeah, I feel like with Casemiro, he just gets on with his job. He does it well. And today, he he deserves a goal as well. And that header, Kepa gets an answer it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But it's a great header because it's not easy. He's sort of leaning back. It's high, and he just does exactly what he needs to do.
Yeah.
Directs it to the far corner, and Kepa can't get a good enough hand on it.
No.
So if Kepa gets another half an inch on that ball, it won't cross the line.
No.
It'll hit the post fully. And he doesn't.
It's a brilliant header, that.
It's a fantastic header.
It's the sort of header as well that, unfortunately for Man United, I don't think if that ball lands on the head of any other Man United player in that starting 11, that goes in the back of the net. McTominay is tall and he's good at winning defensive headers, but he hasn't got that sort of nous when it comes to directing a ball like that. Ronaldo obviously can do it, but he's away for obvious reasons. I think Casemiro is the only one. Rashford isn't great in the air, as we know. I don't think there's any other options really. Martinez, maybe. We haven't really seen that from him. But to just lean back and just guide it back across goal, sort of floating through the air, waiting for it to arrive and just nodding it all the way back is the only way he could have scored from there. Because he's not like on the goal line.
No.
He's on the penalty spot basically when he heads it. He's 10 yards out.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing he can do. And he does it to, almost absolute perfection. Obviously, the hand gets to it, but not enough. And just on Casemiro as well, he made the third most passes for United, most ball recoveries with 10, which is just massive. Just winning, just getting the ball back for Man United 10 times in a game. Just brilliant.
Just quick as well, merch-wise, we've got loads of merch, including Lisandro Martinez, the Butcher merch. There, who's that handsome devil modelling that? There's a link in the chat. Go and check it out at paddockmerch.com. You get 20% off if you buy two or more items. So go and have a look at that. We've got other merch as well. We've got Eriksen stuff. We've got other stuff. We've got some Casemiro stuff coming out soon as well. So make sure you're checking that out. Members get an extra discount as well if you are a Paddock member. Excuse me. Moving forward now, what do you think this means for today for Eriksen? For Eriksen out? Do you think he can take anything from this game where he goes, right, I found out about him, or maybe that's not going to work, or maybe I've got to do this for the next one? Because there was a couple of performances where you go, it raised a bit of an eyebrow for me.
Yeah.
So just do you think there is anything other than obviously the Varane injury? We've got to see what happens with that, because that could be quite important if he's out for a couple of months.
Serious, doesn't it?
And I hope normally I'd say I don't give a shit about the World Cup, but for him I hope he goes to the World Cup.
Yeah.
But most importantly, I hope he's back for Manchester United soon. Do you think there's a takeaway from that game where Eriksen goes, right, okay, I've learned something today?
I think there's whatever went wrong, but the fact that Chelsea were able to make that substitution and kind of overload us in midfield, and City kind of did the same thing, didn't they? Well, they did more of that, far more of that than Chelsea did. Being able to overload the midfield a little bit at times, I think will have turned his eye to maybe Fred being an option, not just when Eriksen's injured, but in certain lineups and certain systems. The problem is, you take Eriksen out, you lose the ability to keep the ball. You take Fred out, you lose the ability to win the ball back. So it's either you allow chances for them, but you keep it when you've got it, or you can't keep it, but you look good defensively. It's almost like a difficult, a catch-22 that Ten Hag kind of has to deal with. But I think back-to-back games of Spurs with Fred playing and Chelsea with Eriksen playing, you've got two options there for different things. The other one, and we have to talk about it, is Jadon Sancho, who he was really poor, wasn't he? Just one of those games where everything he did was going wrong. From the first minute, he gets the ball on the left-hand side, passes the ball, goes to dummies to go past his man, then doesn't, then dummies again, doesn't go past him again, then turns back to give the ball to Luke Shaw and fucking underhits the pass.
I don't know with Sancho, right? It's weird because I like him. He seems like there's a real talent there. But, he's had some good games. Obviously, he got the goal at Leicester. He got the goal against the Scousers. He got the goal, was it Sheriff or one of the, was it one of the...
Yeah.
When he showed the kids... Sorry? Sheriff away. But he's had some bad games.
Yeah.
And not just this season. Last season, he kind of went under the radar a little bit because everyone was terrible.
Yeah.
And he probably wasn't as bad as some others, but he was bad.
Yeah.
And I just worry a little bit, because the thing with Sancho under Ole owed him something, he'd bought him, he'd paid a lot of money for him, he chased him for 2 years. So Eriksen doesn't owe Jadon Sancho anything. And my sort of thinking now is, when if Martial is ever fit again, when he comes back, I see Sancho going over to the left and Anthony on the right, and I think Jadon Sancho's on the bench.
Rashford on the left.
Rashford, thank you. I think Rashford goes over to the left, which he's better suited, so he's not a striker, Marcus Rashford. and I think Sancho drops down on the bench.
Yeah.
And for a 72 million quid player to be on the bench, and he's the second season he's at the club isn't great. But and I might be wrong, but I just don't think we've seen enough from him this season. And I always felt, I said this about Marcus Rashford, I said, he doesn't need a good season, he needs a good start to the season. Yeah. He's got to hit the ground running. He's got to show Erik ten Hag what he's about. And he did that. And he's done that. And I know he's probably, a bit of a quieter game today. But I think sort of this season he's been good, Marcus. You know what I mean?
He has.
Yeah.
And the fact that he keeps getting chance after chance and he's making them for himself. To me, the fact that he's missing chances is obviously frustrating in the short term, but as a long-term thing, that's a great sign.
And let's
he's making so many chances.
I'll be critical of Marcus when he deserves it, but already this season he's played in every position across the front three.
Yeah.
He's played left, he's played right, he's played down the middle. And also, unlike some of his peers, he hasn't caused any dramas, and he's not their fault, but he hasn't been injured. No. He's been available every game, pretty much. And I think you can't fault that. Sancho, too many games passing by. Too many games where you go, 60th minute, he's done nothing. He keeps getting subbed as well. Yeah. He's gone from getting subbed in the 60th minute to getting subbed in the 49th or the 50th. Because his record for finishing matches under Erik ten Hag is just almost non-existent.
It was non-existent.
I know, and I just wonder whether, is there a fitness issue? Can he not handle the pace that United play? Is it just his build, the way he is? He's short, he's explosive, he's not pacey, and he's not got that stamina. But either way, it doesn't look good. It doesn't bode well for him if he can't sort of start showing the kind of performances that we have seen briefly now and again in the United shirt, but more pertinently, we saw a lot for Dortmund. We've got some quotes from Erik ten Hag, if you want to get them up. Could you just move the little box out of the way? Thank you. He says, I think it's a fair result. I would have been disappointed if we had gone without a point because we didn't deserve that. At the end of a tough week, to come here, you bring the point home. Yep. Is there any more quotes, sorry, from him? Oh, yep. I have to make a big compliment to my team. To fight back with a fourth game in 10 days, you see the spirit and how they deal with setbacks. Really good. I mean, what's more, on Varane, it's difficult to say how he is now because it is very soon. We have to wait 24 hours and then we will know what it is. Yep. We need him. He's been class this season.
That's worrying, though, that.
Yeah.
Waiting 24 hours is like the swelling or the scans or whatever. It's obviously like, I think, based on Varane's reaction, minimum, he thinks he's out of the World Cup. Minimum. That's him crying on the side of the touchline isn't because he's worried he's going to miss the Sheriff game, is it?
No.
That is minimum. He thinks he's missing the World Cup. No. Maximum, he thinks he's done his knee and is out for a year. And, whatever comes after that with a 30-year-old getting a cruciate knee ligament injury. That looked really worrying, didn't it? And it was one of them where it was quite innocuous. He steps out, just crunches his knee into his feet.
That's usually when it's worse, isn't it, for a player because they know something's gone.
Yeah.
It's not an impact injury, as they say, where someone's clattered into you or hit you and you think, oh, you've done something to it. It's like, some of the more troubling injuries are just when you fall funny. And he's done that before, hasn't he, Varane? I think they did it with France, where it's a similar thing where he felt like he just landed funnily and then he was out for like 2 months or whatever. Yeah. And obviously the World Cup is literally starts next month.
Hopefully, I say this knowing how mad it sounds, but hopefully it is only a couple of months.
Yeah.
Because it looked like it could be a year, like a real sort of career changer, didn't it? John with the super chat says, a goal made in Brazil, Shorberto to Casemiro. Credit to Luke, looks trim and fit and back to his best. Ivan Chung says, I had to rewind to see your guys' reaction. Awesome. Corey Molly Doherty says, just wondering your opinion on Dalot. Been poor in my opinion.
I thought it was all right today, Diogo Dalot.
I did.
I still think with Dalot, there might be a slight ceiling there where it's not as high as some of his peers, shall we say. But I think he can give you good performances, and I think he has given you good performances this season. I think the key for him is just that consistency. Yeah. Because he had a couple of stinkers early doors. I mean, to be fair, so did everyone else. And he's turned it around. He's had some very good performances. Just if he can find that consistency, he'll keep his place in this Manchester United team for years to come. He just needs to find that. We're going to wrap it up there.
We've got a few super chats.
Go for your super chats. Sorry, then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, it's we've got one from Wilson who says that Steve's saying Casemiro saved Ten Hag is putting unjust pressure on the gaffer. Shouldn't you be telling him this? Have a great weekend, lads. Like and sub. Thank you, mate, and thank you. Yeah, I think he saved I don't know why he would have saved Ten Hag in particular, but we'll have Stephen Howson on this channel.
Yeah,
in a
we'll
little
get his
bit,
reaction
and
to that,
we'll
and I'll
ask him about that in particular. So Wilson, we will get you an answer there. Martian says it felt like the stadium was sucking the energy out of the game. Stamford Bridge can be like that with its dead atmosphere. Old Trafford will get them. Rune says McTominay was taught to defend with both hands by Captain Maguire, who does it all the time. He's the gift that keeps on giving. I love that. Maguire blamed for that penalty there, Jay. Never thought I'd see the day. Not even in the fucking stadium, and it was still his fault that we conceded a penalty. Jordan Amor says, I'm taking a point from the Bridge all day. We've played the top 5. We now have a favourable run. We can still do bits this season. Happy says, great to see you lads. Great performance by Martinez, who's sensational again. McTominay needs a brain scan for dumb decisions he makes. Up the paddock. Stephen S says, love the way that we're playing. It just cries out for a forward like Tony or Vlahovic. We're cautious about crossing, but try a target man may help. And my amateur says, we need to be the ones who overload the midfield since we have no number 9. Bruno playing up top, Rashford left wing, Anthony as right wing will be a lot more balanced, control possession and tire out opponents.
Not the worst shout I've heard.
No.
I think Marcus has done all right down the middle, but it's not his favourite position, is it?
No.
And I think that, I know we're waiting. We're 11 games in, he's had one start. We need Martial back, man.
Yeah.
Or, like your man says there, in January, we go for someone else. Don't give me this fucking shit about we haven't got any money because we spent a load of money in the summer. Those twats have got enough money.
Yeah.
They can get the fucking money out. It's our money anyway. It's not theirs, not the Glazers. And they can go and get a striker. Because you cannot have a club with Manchester United and not have a striker. No. That's just stupid. No. So, yeah, hopefully we can do.
Definitely. That's going to be all from us on that note.
On that note, literally.
Right, thank you very much for joining us. Manchester United have salvaged a draw against Chelsea. I mean, it was a deserved point, if nothing else, wasn't it?
Don't forget to check out the merch. Go and check out Joe on Sloppy Joe's podcast. Hit subscribe as well. Hit that subscribe button and give us a like. Make sure you're liking the videos, but hit the subscribe button. We want to get to 700,000 subscribers by the end of the season, and with your support, we can do it. There's a link in the chat. That's been Joe. I've been Jay. This has been the live review. Manchester United grabbing a late equaliser at Stamford Bridge. Love to see it. Thanks for watching.